Wanderers. Time for AI limits. Yeah. AI limits. Oh, sorry. AI limits. Oh, yes. Let me know for that one. Eating swatchers. Awful. We got ourselves some AI limits. On launch day, even. This should be very, very good. Who made this game? Sense Games from Sea Asia. Okay, so it's Chinese made. That makes sense. Explains the only audio options were English and Chinese. Now, typically I play these games in their native languages. However, given that they made the effort to put in English VAs, I opted to listen to this game in English. So hopefully, this game does not disappoint with its quality voice acting. I did buy the Big Dick edition. Sorry, deluxe edition. So I do have access to this art book here. Oh, this is cool. Now, I know art books aren't super... Digital art books, rather, aren't super valuable, but I do like to look through these things. There could be spoilers in here, but without context, is it really a spoiler? It's just art, right? There's no plot points to be found in here. These characters all look cool. The monsters also look cool. This band... Strangers. Especially this guy in the middle. Looks really cool. Now, I'm not sure what the protagonist's name is, but she is called a blader. And that term, oh, she looks cool. Brings me back to an old free-to-play. I think it was a Korean MMO back in the day called Cabal Online. Featured a class called I think I had two classes called Bladers. Blader and Force Blader, something like that. Which basically meant that you had a sword, a blade, or two. I don't think this game has anything to do with Cabal. It doesn't look like it does. I like a Kazan, which I'm also looking forward to picking up eventually. Kazan is set in the Dungeon Fighter universe, another free-to-play MMO. And I believe the Kazan is the first Berserker. Well, that's the name of the game. Berserker is a subclass of the Slayer in DFO. I don't know much about DFO's setting. I played it a very long time ago. I won't say how long ago. But it seemed like your typical fantasy with some lore if you're willing to look into it. These weapons are really cool. That looks gnarly. That looks like a surgical saw. Okay. Flamethrower. Very cool. Some settings. Post-apocalyptic. Very industrial. Which drew my eye. Oh, that is a cool area. A graveyard and a temple or church of some sort. Backside of an industrial building. Slums. Abandoned cities, a mall. This is what drew me in to this game over Kazan. No shit at Kazan. Like I said, I'm very interested in playing through that. I'm gonna assume that's our protagonist. Well, let's just jump right into it. I've already set up the game, so let's see how this. The crystallization of wealth and wisdom stems from the land's grace.
As the war concluded,
Ooh.
and eons of calamity wane, all life withered, leaving behind a desolate world. A mysterious black mud crept forth, corroding the land inch by inch.
Very cool.
The remaining humans roamed amidst the ruins, haunted by fear. They fought for food and sought refuge from the monsters born from the mud.
Look at it.
Desperate,
Reminds me of
they
Remnant.
swarmed to the last bastion of humanity.
Oh, that is cool
Havenswell.
as well. The branch will deactivate itself. What the hell is the branch? This is cool. This is really cool. This reminds me of another game I played. I went through a lot of it in co-op with a buddy of mine. It's called Code Vein. Protagonist face down in the mud already. Rise up. Get up. Nice. Here we are.
Where is this?
That's a good question. So far, the English VA is serviceable. I'll have to look up who actually does the voices in this game. I would have done the same if it had Japanese voices, but it does not. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about. I don't know much, if anything at all, about Chinese voice actors. That'd be something new to learn. Southwest Sewer Town. That. Okay. Alright, let's get our bearings. So, square is to use whatever's in that slot, it looks like. And there's another slot used by triangle. Okay, circle is our dodge. X doesn't do anything. Okay, similar to most Soulsborne games, the D-pad selects the items. Okay, R1, assuming R2, yeah, R2's heavy. Okay, R1, light attack. R2's heavy. What is that bar, that gauge in the middle? Okay, L1 makes you look at my arm, my very red arm. Covered in some kind of crystals. Oh. Interesting. Okay. And that makes me sprint. Okay. Yes, hold circle to sprint. Ah, a weapon. Rusty longsword. Single-handed longsword of unknown origin left in the sewers. Okay, is there some aiming? Kind of like a lot of Souls games. Decent moveset. By most standards. Think rate represents the quantity of mud energy available to you. Sync rate reaches a maximum of 100%. Sync rate okay. Blader's prowess in battle. Empty energy. Attacks deal much less damage. The sync rate will automatically increase at this point. The lower it is, the faster it increases. Sync rate is categorized into multiple levels, which directly determine a blader's prowess in battle. Energy level 1 attacks deal standard damage. Okay, that's the light blue. 90%. Attacks deal more damage. Enemies with basic attacks increases your sync rate while getting attacked. Okay, so this is like the in Wo Long, there was a, I can't remember what it's called. It's called like Rally, the Rally system or something like that. Your sync rate drops to 0 when you enter a weakened state. That's not good. Extend the spell frame. Okay, that's what I did earlier. Home run swings. Ah, okay, so something like a weapon art. From Elden Ring. Okay, and using that ability reduces my sync rate. So build up, release. Pretty standard. Very cool. So what that also means is that this game is going to highly... Oh, he's in that grim fate, hasn't he? What ball? Restore a small amount of life over a certain duration. Okay, I don't need to use that now. That thing looks very dangerous. Simple enough. I wonder if I can combo heavy attacks in. Okay, kinda. Okay, so there's a cost. You can't see it because it's hidden under me, but there's a cost to your think attacks or weapon. I'm gonna call them weapon arts because that's what it reminds me of. It tells you directly how much. So 20% per home run swing. Void Beast, extreme danger. Void Beast. No place to save, so I'm gonna kill this first. Use rolls and dodge to evade enemy attacks. Right. Be standard. Is there backstabs? There's no way to find out. Dashing reminds me of... Okay, no backstabs. Reminds me of Bloodborne. Cheap product remains. Raise the interest of merchants. I would like to fight that Void Beast, but I'm also kind of feeling like a little bitch. How to acquire a new weapon, you will learn its skill. Okay. Costs mud energy. Resulting in a decrease in sync rate. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so there is dodge attacks, which is good. Keep up the pressure. Okay, I have some mud balls, so let's kill some of this crap. Crystallize remains. Alright. There's some mud balls. So let's see if we can light that Void Beast. As good as... I'm gonna have to fight it sooner or later, I'm sure. I'm sure this thing will show up later, so why not get the practice in now? Your crystal. I don't know if I could sneak up on this thing. Entirely. Okay. Oh, that hurt. Wow. Man, I am fucking this up bad. Let me just back up here a second. Jeez. Some health back. Hey, you can't get through this door. Loser. Oh no! Oh no! Sink? I've sunk. I deserve that. Just full on, I just deserve that. My hubris is being killed. Once again. I think I get killed though. My mud balls came back too. I think that may be because I have spares in my stash, assuming there's a stash. Seems like I can only hold 3 at a time. Is there a slide? Oh, there is. Nice. Let's try this again. Okay, so he scratches after he does that. Right. Okay. I think I've got him. Oh, maybe not. Oh. Okay, let's... Give me a second, buddy. Okay. No, I've got him. He's not that difficult. I just get overzealous often. Shit. Luminous carbon, basic material for weapon enhanced. Okay, cool. Let's see, titanite slabs, or whatever they're called, titanite chunks, chunks and ores. Can't wait to see the rusty longsword runs for this game. There's some crazy ass players out there. Cool. Come here. Alright. On our way. I'm assuming that Void Beast does not respawn. Given that he's got crafting mats. Ow. Brick. Oh, I can't reach that. What the fuck? Okay. I'm gonna mudball. Oh, okay, there are backstabs. They're just... Oh. Stealth. Oh! Oh shit, my arm turned into like a stabby thing. A stabby. Big stabby. Big stabby. Me arm, big stabby. Mini bomb. Low for triggering explosion upon impact. Ah. Okay, I can put my items here. Replenish mud energy, increase sink rate, mini bombs. Well, the affordable weapons sold by Grey Rhino Caravan, only used in Havenswell. Broken branch. Okay, so this is teleports me back. Whatever the branch is. No other standard nucleus. Tension rate and absorption rate. What is that? Energy absorption medium. Most common octahedral nucleus, widely used for storing and trading crystals. It responds to the holder's consciousness and actively absorbs or separates mud crystals. Interesting. I have no spells. No other weapon, no armor. Okay. Prowess. LP? Is that HP? Think rate. Okay. Conversion. Whatever that means. Stability. Must be for flinching. Switched my bombs. Oh, okay. Oh, that goes on a straight line, and that just killed him. Very cool. There's no block in this game at all. Holding what would normally be my block button just makes me look at my arm. Unless I need a shield to block. I remember when I started playing Souls-likes, I would always have a shield equipped block, but that was because I sucked at dodging. Now I just use shields as stat buffs in most Soulsborne. Keep it on the back. Stuff like stamina regen shields. What's this? Old notepad for recording various basic matters. Key item. Okay, so this is my manual, basically. The door. Sewer cleaner. Oh, hello. First boss fight. Is this really a boss fight, or is this like the fucking Soldier of Godric? Yeah, Soldier of Godric. Very Soldier of Godric. Okay. Simple enough. Railgun. Spells refer to techniques that utilize mud energy to generate various effects. Equip spells in the equipment menu to get additional aid in combats. Okay. L2. Okay, so L2 prompts your red arm. And then you either hit the light attack for your weapon art or heavy attack for the spell. Also costs mud energy. Okay, so just like weapon arts. Let's equip this spell. Oh, it's already equipped. Railgun. One of the basic construct spells. Constructs a metal projectile out of mud and propels it using an electromagnetic field. Let's try it. Oh, that's cool. Now we game. Now, I mentioned this game resembled Code Vein a lot, and I've been told Scarlet Nexus. I think Code Vein and Scarlet Nexus are the same developers. I never played Scarlet Nexus. Only Code Vein. This feels a lot better than Code Vein.
Lord Asteria. Ah, finally. A nascent blader.
Blader?
Yes. Thank you for helping us deal with the void.
The void.
You're here looking for branches, right? Then go and meet the branch weaver. Her lordship is waiting for you. Please go.
Who's this lordship?
There's not much time left for her lordship.
Curious. Very curious. This mud. Evil mud. Can I talk to him again? No, he's gonna be quiet. Okay. This lighting is cool. Okay. Pure crystals. I don't know what these balls are. They look like pods. Hmm. Who is this?
Welcome, Seeker of the Branch.
What is this? What?
I'm Asteria,
Here we go.
the Branch Weaver.
She is very
I've been
tall.
waiting for you. It's a pleasure to know
She's
that
very
you've
big.
arrived safely.
What's this place?
An ancient underground drainage tunnel, deep underground in the south region of Havenswell.
Is this a branch?
As you see, this branch has been damaged since long ago. Please use your power as a blader to restore it.
The look of utter confusion in her face. I like that. She's like, what the fuck? What is going on? Where am I? Who am I? All I know is I must kill. Hair branch. I really like these post-apocalyptic, like, anime style games. That Code Vein was kind of mid, really, but I really enjoyed its premise. The vampire thing was really cool. But I'm also reminded of God Eater. God's Eater Burst on PSP was one of my favorite games back in the day. It's basically Monster Hunter. It's like anime Monster Hunter. Branches. You may discover and repair branches scattered throughout the world. While resting near a branch, your life and sync rate are fully restored. Okay, so it's bonfires. Replenish life due other items. Right, bonfires. While defeated enemies will respawn, right? Teleport between branches. Use your abilities. Okay, yeah, it's a bonfire. Let's lick the flame. I mean, branch. Okay. Upgrade. Okay, so those are souls. Basically, the crystals are souls. So we have life, vitality, strength, technique, spirit. I didn't play the demo, so I don't know anything about this game. But I had a reflexive prowess. So this ups LP and stability. Okay. This is a little strange. Okay, LP is hit points, HP. Maximum life conversion. Higher conversion will some greater sync rate boost when attacking enemies. Okay. That's kind of like casting and weapon arts. Strength. That's damage values. Some weapons have a requirement on strength, so I definitely want to pump that. Because I am a huge fan of giant weapons. Technique. Increase the attack of certain weapons. Okay, so this is Dex. Spirit. Increase damage of spells. Some spells have a requirement on spirit, okay. Retention rate. Percentage of crystals retained upon death. Determined by nucleus equipped. Oh, okay. So I die, I keep 75%, absorption, percentage of crystals absorbed, so that's all your soul gain rate, basically. Right? Determine sync rate boost upon absorbing crystals. Okay, so you get a boost if you absorb crystals. Your sync rate. Infection. Piercing. Poison. Shatter. Enemy shatter attacks. Electricity, fire, physical. What is shatter? Spell power, weapon, okay. Stability. It determines your ability to stabilize your synchronization rate when attacked. It increases with your level. The sync rate. Okay, I thought it was flinching, but it's for your sync rate. Increases, and that's the gain. Okay. I understand. Okay. All strength usually is my play. Oh, sorry, that's vitality. All. There we go. Yeah. But this vitality looks like it's gonna be. So let's go 2 strength, 1 life, 1 vitality. Just a start, anyway. Cost crystals to upgrade. I don't want to upgrade this shit. Rusty longsword. Luminous carve 3 luminous carbon. Cultivate branch. Okay, I can't do that. That does something to the bonfire or branch. Ah, this is my big dick edition contents. Now I got this because it looked cool. Oh yeah, that is sick. Sleek as fuck. Florestal Caravans Defense Squad. Interesting. Now my assumption is that this falls off pretty fast, but like I said, it looks cool. Oh, he's not done talking. Okay.
This way. The branch is functional once more. Now please, take this. This
The mask.
will mend your body. It will be replenished once connected to the branch. Please, make good use of
The
it.
mask is very Code Vein.
What happened?
Follow your vision at the branch.
When I touched the branch, I saw a strange vision.
Yeah, like I was drowning.
In the vision, I was in the water, and there was something huge, glowing in the distance. But I couldn't make it out. What just happened?
Perhaps it is the memory reserved in the branch. Your lost memory.
My lost memory.
Keep seeking branches, and one day you will be able to retrieve your memory.
Seeking branches.
Seek, blessed.
Leave
Bear
this
seek,
area
blessed.
and proceed to Heavenswell. To truly understand everything, you must embark on the journey. For this purpose,
Strange
I am
audio
offering
cut
you
there.
a parting gift. Now, make your choice.
Ah. Proper longsword. Twin swords. Oh yes, here we go. Leaders of Seed. River passing trunk, struck from mud by Asteria. Paired swords designed by Seed. Great flexibility and suited fast-paced combat. Right. Dex weapons. Dex weapons. Swift stabs. Refined combo, okay. Root combo, yes. The great sword. Despite its lower attack speed, it compensates its longer attack range and increased damage. Damn right. Oh, I can see the weapon skill. Very cool. Weapon skill with Pushing restore within the blade of longsword. Series of slashes with a technique focused stance followed by a forceful thrust. Useful memories. Use a rapid burst of stabs followed by an upward thrust. Okay. Powerful upward slashes in both the left and right sides in quick succession. Very cool. I definitely want the greatsword.
So, you have
auto
accepted your
equip.
first mission.
Thing is
The
massive.
path ahead is
Like a
open.
damn spear.
It is time to proceed. Go meet humans. Find the scattered branches and restore them. As this will be the only salvation for this broken world.
Journey begins. Bid farewell to Asteria, embark on your journey. Life due. Okay, so that's Estes, I'm assuming.
You must have many questions.
I do.
About this world and about yourself.
I do.
Unfortunately, the answers can only be discovered by you.
What the fuck?
I'm on the verge of fading away.
Oh, that's why the old guy said she's dying.
I'm not supposed to be here, and I don't have the authority to answer your questions.
Yeah,
Now
Orta.
that I've seen you before I perish. My wish is fulfilled. Please proceed with courage and caution. While the branch can infinitely reconstruct your physical form, it cannot instill hope or faith within you. Follow the will of your heart.
Yes, those kinds of
and
things come
embark
from
on
within.
your own journey. May the branch guide your path.
Yep. And she turned to mud. She's dead. What the fuck? Oh, at least I got a weapon. That's... Oh. I remember that from Soulsborne games. Always very good if you move forward a lot. Okay, so let's be charged fully about this brute combo. Okay, assuming I can just spam that. Does this give me back sync rate? So square is my item. Triangle is specifically for the Estes, it looks like. Or life due, whatever it's called. Which is very nice. Ah, right, there's no jumping in this game. But is there a plunging attack? Okay. I wanted to find... It's kind of a long walk back. Long walk back, though, so I'm not going to bother. Ooh.
Lord Asteria has warned us. The area down here is plagued with the void. Just stay away from it. Why did you have to mess with that void beast and end up getting wounded like this? Well, there is nothing worth scavenging in that dump. Huh? A new face. Go find yourself a spot and don't bug me. If you don't want to get gobbled up, stay away from the mud.
The mud.
A new face if you don't.
Damn mud. Okay. Step pads. Or elevator pads. What's these guys? Oh. And I'm assuming they turn into these void things. Once they're corrupted enough. Oh, you prick. What the fuck? There's no stamina, I just realized. That's fantastic. Portable ignition. Use of weapons. Oh, okay. Very cool. Oh. The only reason he hit me is because I reflexively hit X to dodge. It is circle. Where's that? There it is. Very cool. Probably gonna take me some time to get used to the controls. A little bit of time. Ah, Dark Souls 3 jumping. I see. Alright. Oh, another cleaner. Oh, damn. Okay, his eyes glow and he's about to strike, which is good. However, he's beating my ass pretty bad. Forged steel blade. A steel blade freshly forged with factory. Oh, is that a weapon? Oh, I could switch weapons. Very cool. That's right, I got two dual blades. The size from the Big Dig edition. Okay, so requires technique. Quite a bit of damage. Onslaught slash. Cool.
Oh, another one of them. You want to escape to the surface too? How pathetic. There's no escape. The monster is still there. No one can escape.
Boo-hoo. A monster. Monsters exist to be slain. And to beat my ass. Okay, yeah, I saw that coming. Fool me once. Shame on me. Oh! No! Fool me twice. Can't get fooled again. Yeah, I can stagger the shit out of these guys, which is good. Wait, what? Where's my bomb? Okay, I cannot hit him. What the fuck? Well then. Magnetic surge. Well, stay right there for a second. Minor magnetic surge upon impact. Only for okay. Can I hit you now? Excellent. Oh, I could just walk up here. Fuck. Oh, that's fine. I like the bombs have like a range limit on them. I threw a fire grenade at him twice and it just didn't come out. Jeez. What the fuck is that? I'm gonna try my spell. I walk slowly, I can backstab. That's as much damage as I was expecting, but that's fine. Give me this pipe. Okay, that's the way I need to go. What's over here? I hear you. Yeah, there it is. Mechanical part. Okay. And they're dead. What's this? Safe. Sure. Yes. Traveler's outfit. Now, typically in these games, oh, it's a cool outfit. typically in these games, to a point, armor is important, right? But typically you're looking for passives from armor. I haven't seen any in these pieces yet, but if there are passives on the armor. The other thing to consider is that a lot of bosses, especially in late game, these kinds of games, if you get hit, you're gonna get two-shot. No matter what oh, that is very, oh, 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 oh no. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Let's just hide here while we... I want this. Jesus. Alright. I want that as well. Oh, maybe not. Okay. I see. So, I assume I gotta kill him first. It's like the dragon from Dark Souls 3. Right at the beginning in the city of Lothric's wall. Oh, branch. Nice. Branch fixed. Link the branch. Is this crystal? Is this... No, okay. I thought it was currency. Souls. Okay, I lack luminous carbon. Still can't cultivate either. I am curious what these other weapons look like. So I put a point into technique. What does this? What is this? Like a cleaver. Oh, that slides you forward. Very cool. Maybe in the offhand. I have the technique for the size, and I won't for a while, so that's fine. How do I switch my weapons? Oh, okay, it's the up key. Very nice. And no way to that big guy, I assume.
Must be opened from the other side.
Yep. And she's just dead inside. Fitting for this setting. Relive memory. This reminds me of Code Vein.
Seize the moment.
I mean, this is in a lot of
Release the force field.
Souls likes.
Counter. Too hard for me. Got to get out of here quickly.
Counter field. Frame ability. There's spell frame on your left arm. Activate the counter field at the precise moment when you're about to be attacked to counter most attacks. Successfully countering attack. Cause them in a weakened state. In this case, you'll have a chance to launch a fatal strike. Okay. My parry. Oh, that uses sync too. Okay. In Wolong, when you parried with your weapon, you gained rally. In this one, you expend it. Let's practice a bit then. Nice. Simple enough. Let's try it again. Hit me. Too early. Much too early. Okay. Damn, man. Okay. Definitely gonna need to practice that. So there's a slight wind-up time. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill him, where he kills me. Crystallized remains. I don't know what that is. I'm going to eat a mud. Nice. Now, typically, in these games, especially in Elden Ring, I do like to learn parry patterns. Especially against bosses. Let's see over there. Bosses specifically, and some tough enemies. I got Radon, his second form. Both of his forms in the Shadow of the Earth tree. And almost to a science. Doing parries. Okay. I was gonna practice parrying, but there was a ranged thing attacking me. Come here, you prick. I cannot make that jump. That was my... crowning moment. Or electrification. Okay. My crowning moment in... I didn't mean to use that. Shadow of the Earth tree. Is parrying Radon to death. Fuck that guy, man. Oh boy. This could get ugly. Okay, one of them's stuck. That's good. Come here. This would be an enemy I would love to learn how to parry. Like that. That was cool. Oh, that actually hurts. What the fuck? Shit. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back. Stone. I have a stone. What is a projectile? Huh. Hello. Who is... bomb, so nice. Luminous carbon, very nice.
Why are you standing here? Trying to attract the void here.
No.
Get lost.
Sorry. Let me talk to you again. Okay. How many people they're these quality sounds strange. I like they're talking into a microphone. Like it sounds like they're talking to a microphone. Obviously I know they record with a microphone, but it sounds kind of phoned in, I guess. Like they're talking over Skype or something. Maybe that's on purpose. This lands remains. Okay. This reminds me of the sewers in Elden Ring. There is a way down, but oh, can I make that jump? Okay, I can. Nice. Come here, puppy. My ball. I heard that before you. It's like, what the fuck? I think it's stagger on this weapon, which is nice. So I like heavy weapons. You just beat their ass. Unabated. This backstab is so cool. Mechanical parts. Magnet surge. That massive thing is actually climbing up. The worried Mr. Blau is stuck up there, and I wonder how long that platform can hold. We must find him before the platform collapses. Or at least, we must get the key back. Mr. Blau. I don't know who that is. Mr. Blau, that's his name. His name again is Mr. Blau. Already fucked up my backstab. He's starting to throw hands. Keep this. Chest. Or a vault, rather. Later armor. Air physical. Okay, so this is kind of like an all-rounder armor. Which is good. Oh. That looks really good. I don't know why though. Blader visor. Oh yeah, there we go. That's right. Cover the eyes. We need to see shit. Much like Black Myth Wukong, the Deluxe Edition armor is outclassed pretty fast, but I wonder if there's a... Oh, that looks really nice, actually. No, I like this armor. The deluxe armor is outclassed pretty quick. I wonder if you can improve your armors. A lot to explore. What is this? Don't even think about laying your finger on what's stored inside. Even if you sell the stuff to those ignorant rabbles on the surface, they won't pay much for it. And remember, you swore an oath. Even with Lord Asteria gone, we must continue to safeguard this armor until what? Zelda's my what? Happiness? Nice, okay. We're this is... Oh, okay, this is a shortcut. Seal. What is a seal? Whatever it is, I can't upgrade it yet, so more strength. A big PP damage. I am curious to kill that thing and get those items. The other thing is, there is at least I can drop back a bit. Oh, that's right. Everything revived. I love this stick. Let's see. Do it again. Put your hands up. Hands up in the air. He's coming straight for us. I feared for my life. I saw an item. Yeah. Luminous carbon, nice. Maybe I can upgrade this greatsword soon, but I want to see what... Oh, they did it again. Oh boy, okay. I want to see what's down that hole for dropway. There it is. Nothing that way. It's down here. Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Okay. Was not expecting that. That's okay. Jeez. Have I been this way? No, I haven't. Mud collection site number 5. Please proceed upstairs to the equipment room to receive the key from the administrator. Note, to prevent the emergence of the void, only a maximum of 2 people are allowed inside at a time. So it converges where there's multiple people? Thing.
It's locked.
It's locked. Okay, so I need the administrator's key. Sneak up on him. The jump scare sound effect. White woman jump scare. I kind of wish there was a crouch. Well, am I? It's dark in here. I only expect to get jumped by something. There they are. Antidote. Okay, that's really easy to parry. Charge. Which is good. Slaughter them all. Nice. Luminous carbon. Ball. Dead cleaner. Serrated halberd. Modified from a damaged chainsaw. Oh, that does a lot of damage. Not good strength. Scaling is a great sword, but higher base damage. Oh, this is cool. Okay, it's got a thrust at the end. Very long range. Okay. Let me get offhand. Oh, hello. Timetable for Mudball Maker. 7 o'clock, Blau family. 8 o'clock, White, deceased. 9 o'clock, Butte. 10 o'clock, Tiny Bones.
Hey, where are your tools for making mud balls? You won't have anything to eat if you can't make mud balls.
Balls?
You won't have any.
I don't know what she's going on about. And I'm a little scared to find out. How did I not notice this door here? What the fuck? I must be blind. Okay, so that's the other direction. Let me go ahead and rest. Oh, I need to see if I can level as well. Maybe I can enhance something. Do I want to upgrade this? What actually tells you what the... Okay. The special attack is the heavy attack. Now, I'm not sure if carbon is limited. I'm assuming it's not. Rather, early game it will be, but later on. There'll probably be a merchant that sells in vast amounts, maybe even infinite. More strength. I should not be hurting for life really, but big damage is always good. I'm good at the game. I'll never get hit, and then no, I need the actual knife. I love this. Oh, bitch. Where's my halberd? Oh, it's still there. It just doesn't show. Okay. Oh, goodness. What the fuck? Serious? Can I kill him? Does that hurt me? Oh yeah, it does. What the fuck? No. Fucking dick. Eventually you will die. I wonder if you're guarding oh, what the fuck is that? Okay. You're the one guarding that tunnel. Is he dead? Nice. Oh, yeah, I'm assuming he's dead. Cool. I don't think he was guarding that tunnel, though. Okay, I need to be careful here. Reservoir key opens the room to the maintenance passage in the middle of the reservoir. It's that. What opens that other door?
Must be opened from the other side.
Okay. Oh, he was guarding the tunnel. Perfect. Okay. So, I want this. I want all these items here. Yeah. More carbon. Pure crystal. Crystallized remains. Very cool. So that means back this way I can drop down here maybe and oh, she's still there. Maybe open up that door. Strength investment is paying off. Very good. Very, very good. Backstab. Nice. I feel like it took 3 hits to stagger him before. Maybe strength investment helping. Ah, treasure room? I'll have to teleport back and look down that other tunnel. What the fuck is that? A snail! He is taking no damage. Okay, I have to hit his soft spots. What about if I... Carry to the light. Okay, so that's this charge. Yes, cargo is dead. Let's go up the ladder first. What a thrill. Oh, there it is. It's a very long ladder. Hello? No? Okay. That's a shortcut. Oh, and I can check down this tunnel. Nice. Well, now I'm curious what's down the other way. Hopefully this is a dead end. I get the feeling it's not, though. Hello. Ooh. Oh, he's already dead. What is this? Shield. Ah, okay. Your shield provides continuous defense at the cost of mud. Switch frame ability to shields. Interesting. Provides complete protection against enemies' base attacks. To greater defense against elemental. Reduces sync rate. Shield will shatter. Okay. Once your shield is fully charged, it will become over with diminished defensive performance. You use Overload Blast to unleash its energy, triggering explosion, restoring a certain amount of sync rate. Double tap when your shield's overloaded. Okay, I was not expecting that. Ah, okay. Carry shields. What was that other thing it said about the... Double tap L1 when your shield is overloaded. Okay, it's gonna be overloaded. Interesting. Okay, I want to check down that ladder once more. There's some clipping in the skirt. It's unfortunate. Hopefully they patch that out. Where is this? It's this way. Right here. What is this? What the fuck is that? I want to kill it, but I feel like it's gonna kill me. What's this? Oh no! Think. I sunk. Motherfucker. Oh man, okay. Shit. I don't have to. Yeah, I can go this way now. Okay. Shit. It's always the fucking holes, man, in these games. Alright. Up the ladder again. I was worried about the monster, and it's always the environment that fucks me up. Alright, what the fuck is this? What is this? It's not even... distinction. Alright. I don't know what this is, but I want to kill it. Is it facing me? Can I backstab it?
That doesn't seem to be what
Oh
I
my
thought.
god, okay. Oh, Jesus, okay. I am whiffing my attacks, it's not good. I don't know how to overload my shield or whatever the fuck it is. It said double tap, but I'm doing that. Maybe it's not a set. Oh, there it goes. Oh, shit. I'm about to die. Fuck this shield, man. Okay. Not a fan of the shield. Haven't been a fan of a shield in quite a long time just for that exact same reason. My line of thing is that I can crutch ban a shield, but chip damage sucks. Chip damage really fucking sucks. And I could be spending that time hitting him instead of blocking. Let's try this again with the parry. Parry my railgun. I need to use my spells a little more liberally. That scream was cool. Alright, you prick. Over here. Come on. Ooh, damn. Okay, I can't parry that. Good to know. Whiffed. Gotcha. Nice. Gotcha again. And you're dead. Freak core with Bone Force on triggers a mental storm. Okay. Tiny resonance. Basic enhancements for the main seal. Okay. What's this? Partial reconstruction. Oh, basic. Oh, a spell. Consume mud energy to repair damage. So, okay, so this is the self-heal. Very cool. Can I not bind it? Oh, do that. So I had the spell in my slot, but I couldn't actually equip it. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Okay, I see what I'm doing wrong. Okay. I like my railgun. Now we can continue. Unabated. I'll definitely get good at the parry. Or try to get good at the parry. Just gonna rush these guys. They're nice and squishy now, so wait for backstabs or any of that. What the fuck is that? Later? Consumed by the void. Oh, I don't like that at all. I also don't like that I have my... Yeah, there we go. I don't want that shield. I don't want it on at all. Damn. I'm about to die. Later return, Ragged Hood. Oh. Interesting. Actually provides no... Yeah, but it looks cool, right? Oh, hell yeah. Doesn't fit the armor, though. Sucks. For the other outfits. Okay, it goes with that set. No. It could work. No. This looks better though. Okay. Okay. I killed myself again. Oh. Well, I have to commit to this way now. It should heal soon. Nice. He's dead. Okay, so not a big loss. I'm up above where I was previous. Oh, this is gonna suck. Okay. Fuck. Okay. That's why I hate Dark Souls 3 style jumping. Never quite get it right. It's easy to overshoot. Where? Oh, there we are. There's a dedicated jump, like Elden Ring. Platforming would not be nearly as much of a pain. I think I can just roll onto that, actually. I don't think I need to jump. Yeah, okay. I can just walk onto it. Okay, it's carbon. Check that. So now this way. You brought your friends, huh? Oh, you made a good decision doing that. I'm gonna shoot them with my gun. I need a Healy. Delicious mud. Delicious mud. Am I supposed to go up or down? I'm assuming Havensville is up, so yeah, okay. Hello. Goodbye. Pure crystals, mud balls. I hear him. What's this? Oh, they're... Okay. Gotcha. They were NPCs I could talk to. I guess not. I mean, they wanted to talk, just in the way I was hoping. Destroy all boxes. Can I get the jump on him? Fuck, he turned. Gotcha. He's got the stagger, and he's dead. Nice, nice, nice. More mud balls, which I'm going to eat. What's down there? A dead end? Oh, maybe not. Bodies of those robots, the cleaners. Okay. Let me see what's behind that door. That may be a shortcut. Laura's completely lost it. And that kid downstairs, the masked guy I met earlier. Can't we even have a peaceful life down here in the sewers these days? What is Lord Asteria planning by hiding in a place like this? Who's Lore? Bone crackers. What are bone crackers? Oh, they're dual swords. Serrated blades. Interesting. I like that his name is Lore. A really old. I think it was an RPG called Land of Lore. Never played it, but I've heard that. Why is that name coming to me? Okay, I'm assuming I have to go that way, so let's go this way first. Crystallized remnants. Elevator. A shortcut, maybe? Oh, we are going very far down. Maybe not. Maybe not a shortcut.
Those bunch of ungrateful brats. As soon as her lordship perished, those wretches just ran away, and they all got killed by law. Ha! They deserved it.
Lore.
They all wanted to go to the surface, but that's Havenswell, where the weak will only fall into prey. That's horrible. I'd rather die collecting mud.
I'm assuming that Lore is a boss, maybe? And I also assume that that door is where he is. They're building him up like this, so what is this? What is over here? Oh, a branch. Okay. I wasn't sure because it was at a distance. Maybe not. Maybe this is the Lore fight. Okay. Definitely going to. Oh, I just got 20 strength right away. I shouldn't skimp on life. 18 strength sounds good. Let's put the rest in life. Just so I can make a few more mistakes. Or I get destroyed by Lore. So I'm gonna upgrade this great sword. Now, I have heard there's actually quite a lot of equipment in this game. That's what I've seen on different Steam reviews. Ah, okay. We saw this earlier. Portable ignition. I wonder... What is this? You can buy hairstyles. What the fuck? Ponytail. Okay. Okay, so typically buying crystallizer mains means that it's a way to save your currency when you die. It's like buying bags of gold and or whatever it's called, bags of sen in Sekiro, or the crystals in other Souls Lakes. So I want to buy. I want to buy enough to Milligrams of crystals. Okay. I want to buy the. I want to buy the hair. Yes, I want this. Because these games are all about looking good. That's all that matters. Oh. Nice. I like that hair as equipment in this game. That's really cool. Very cool. Very nice. Unfortunately, I like this because it reminds me of, well, me. Is there something under? Sometimes they hide stuff down here. No, there's just death. Death and despair. Come back, elevator. You can see what this lore guy is all about. See how much of a badass he really is. Then put him in his place. It's likely though he's gonna beat my ass a few times. It's all a matter of getting the parry down. Parry every boss to death. It's one of my favorite things to do. Already enhanced, so large reservoir. Alright. Boss time. Make sure everything's set. Curious at this. After I go strength, I always like putting fire on weapons. I don't know. I can also put lightning on. Yeah, we'll stick with fire. Alright. Oh shit, he is crystallized. Lore of the Lost Lands. Oh shit. Okay. Oh. Okay. I am chunking his ass. His little feet. Okay. Okay. I am fucking this up. Relax, buddy. Oh, what the hell was that? He's trying to grab me. I like the buff animation. Nice. Got you. What the fuck? Oh, he's hulking out. Oh, he's almost dead. Oh, damn. Easy, buddy. Easy, buddy. Oh. Okay, I got that heal off. Just gonna kill you. Yeah. Boredom key. Void nucleus. Nuclei are dropped from powerful enemies. Acquired nucleus can be directly equipped. Your equipped nucleus determines the amount of crystals gained upon defeating enemies. It's a great boost, percentage of crystals, okay. Nucleus cannot be removed. When you replace your nucleus, you will lose a proportion of crystals. Use rare crystal nucleus to exchange for special items at merchants. So boss soul, basically. Okay. A boss soul. But you can equip it. Once you equip it, you can't remove it. It sounds like. Is that, if I read that right? Interesting. Well, I don't want to put that in because that lowers my crystal gain. So, I'll hold on to it and try to get a boss weapon. Branch fixed. What's this? Another memory.
Asteria.
Asteria.
What a poor soul. It could have become a blader like you. However, its desire for destruction, engendered throughout years of warfare, has eventually consumed it.
Desire for destruction.
The Void are generated entities, born from the consciousness that flows within the mud. Yet, when overwhelmed by emotions, they succumb to madness. Though it made valiant efforts, it failed to evade its doomed fate. Thank you for granting it the final redemption. May the branch guide your path.
Metastability, a basic normal seal that slightly increases user sync rates. Oh. How do I equip a seal? Or is it not an equipable? I suppose it's not. Here it is. Seal of Newborn. It's the main seal. There's only the primary function of maintaining life activities of a mud life form. How do I equip it? When overwhelmed by emotions, they succumb to madness. I can't equip this. At least I don't see a slot to equip it. Alrighty then. What about here? It may be just something I can hold. Oh, I can't enhance that either. What the fuck? Okay. Oh yes, always strength. I did alright with that amount of HP. It wasn't that bad. Definitely chunking him with this greatsword though, which is great. That's why I'm here. Let's go for the 20 strength. Oh yes. Makes me wonder if there's quality builds in this game. 40 strength, 40 technique. Hope not. Well, I guess I don't hope not, but it's a little boring being an all-rounder. There's nothing down there. I don't see anything. Ah, a new zone. All right. Still in the sewers. Just in another map. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe you're about to leave Sewer Town. Yes. Skies. Parts. I think I can just sell those. I don't think they're useful for anything.
You bastards! My life savings! Give it back! You bastards!
Sucks, buddy. That's rough. Oh. Shit. Holy shit. Heaven's Wall is fucking massive. There it is. Title card. AI limits. Absolutely huge. This is a fucking damn Jesus. Outer Wall ruins. Ancient map of Havenswell. When you rest on a branch, notable landmarks, areas, diverse key areas, spiritual locations, and change the landscape marked on your map. Current location is always pinned. Okay, so there is a map. Is there a quick bar key I can use? Maybe not. Some. She will be back. Find the key. Fight again. Necros. I did not use this. Carrying it enhance. Oh, okay. So I just need to collect them. I don't have to actually use them. Locked roads, collapsed bridges, earthquake falls net, mud lake. Roughly accurate map would attract any buyers. I may have to use I have to rest it up on fire. Or yep, speaking of a branch. I still don't know what cultivating does. At the pilgrimage. One of the paths explored by pilgrims coming from the south. Since this path stretches within the scavenger's territory, it might be dangerous for travelers not protected by the church. The church, huh? And I can't enhance, okay. Map updated. I could access my map, I don't know how though. Oh. I now know how. Okay. Doesn't tell me that much. But it is neat to see. I guess it kind of gives you a sense of progression. E-bombs. He's got a gun. He's got a dead. I don't mean to use that weapon. What happened to my... Okay, for whatever reason my greatsword is unequipped. Much better. Oh shit. Hello. I saw that coming. I thought this was filled with a lot more explosives, so I panicked. They're all over the place. Fish and gems. This is really cool. There's a lot to explore. A lot. Okay. I heard that ping. Ignorant slaves. Grenades, man. Cowardly. Crystallized remains. Nice. Noise tape. Noise tape. Oh, it's a fucking cassette tape. Okay. What the hell is noise tape? They mean a brainwave recorded. The core component of the mudball maker. That's produced by Hewlett. Hewlett School. Pardon me. Being a little tired. Noise tape. Noise tape. Noise tape. I don't think he took that back step very well. Oh no, he's bugged out. I can't reach the item. That sucks. You dick. This is hub. This place looks safe. Oh yeah, there's a branch here. Oh yeah. Oh. A barrel head. He's asleep. Don't wake him up. Okay. Go back to sleep.
Ursula?
No.
What?
Ah, I'm sorry. I saw your eyes, and the
You
names
did?
came out.
Where did you see my eyes?
Ursula. But who is Ursula? Excuse me. That was quite embarrassing. I've had a head injury and have forgotten a lot of things. My name is Delpha, and
Delpha.
I'm a botanist.
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 A botanist is someone who studies plants. Well, even if I explain, you probably won't understand. After all, I've never seen any real living plants myself. They went extinct long before I was born.
Are you a
We
botanist?
can make plants grow
I guess he
again.
studies them, right? He doesn't
It might
necessarily
just
plant
solve
them.
the food problem. For this purpose, I've been traveling everywhere, studying the soil for 2 decades.
Soil.
Yes, plants need light, water, and soil to grow. Light is essential, of course, but water... While the mud has taken in all the water, it still evaporates. So basically, we can get clean water from rainfall. The problem lies in the soil. Look at this. Almost all of the land is contaminated. The soil is mixed with a lot of strange crystallized substances. I've tried to purify it, but nothing has worked so far. Plants can't grow in this contaminated soil.
Strange crystallized substances?
It's the crystallization of the mud. You can taste it.
She reminds me of Snake.
No? I eat a little when I'm starving, and it hasn't caused big problems so
Wait, he eats
far.
the dirt?
The main issue is that we know nothing about the mud or its origin. Please, take this soil.
But I won't eat it.
You don't have to eat it. I always have a feeling
Activate the
that
Oh.
you may need it for another purpose.
Cultivate branches. And gather soil from various locations worldwide and deliver it to Delpha to aid in his research. The purified soil obtained from Delpha can be used to cultivate branches. Cultivating branches increase the max terror. Okay.
Was
I
the
can
soil
cultivate.
of any help?
I haven't tried it yet.
I see. It'd be great if it could help you.
Yeah, she reminds me of Snake. Snake always repeats what people say to him. Second story basement. branch growth. Achievement unlocked. Nice. Okay, if that's how you get charges, then... What do I... What is that other item for? Dew Essence. What? This is probably to actually increase the actual amount of HP restored, so...
Was the soil of any help?
It was very helpful. Thank you.
Glad to know. If you ever find different soil elsewhere, please bring it to me. Once I'm done with it, you can take it and use it. Let's think of it as helping each other out. What do you say?
I see.
See.
By the way, you're heading to Heavenswell, right? What's it for?
To find branches.
Branches? Oh, you mean that branch-looking thing over there? What exactly is that? It looks like metal, but grows like a plant.
I don't know. I just restore those branches. And connecting with those branches might help me find my lost memories.
Oh, I see. We are the same. Seeking after far-fetched goals with crippled memories. However, I am just a feeble scholar, while you possess power, right? Could I ask you for a favor?
No. Yeah.
That little girl over there, Shirley,
Surely.
wants to get into Heavenswell, but trouble awaits in her journey ahead. Originally, there were only some troublemaking scavengers along the way who wouldn't dare harm the pilgrims in fear of the church. However, they became too rowdy and attracted deadly necros.
What are necros?
They are monsters that followed soon after the church appeared 100 years ago. They are extremely dangerous, as they possess strength that far exceeds that of humans and will attack all living beings. While this camp has some kind of barrier against the necros, if you want to get into Heavenswell, you'll have to go to the monastery in the north. There's an elevator to the city, but now the leader of those necros is lurking there. Adults may be able to find a way to get around them, but Shirley is just a girl. If you can destroy it, the little girl will be able to continue on her journey safely, and I'll be relieved.
I see.
Necros are extremely dangerous. Please be careful. Necros are extremely dangerous. Please be careful.
Repeated that line, I guess. Okay. Fuck. Oh shit. What? Oh, training dummy. Okay, I see. This is my parries as well. Come on, kick me. Gotcha.
Hey, big sister over there. Here. Yeah, I'm here.
Presumably this is Shirley.
Thank you for coming over, big sister. My name is Shirley. As you can see, I am a pilgrim.
Pilgrim?
Exactly. Have you heard of Elysium?
What's that?
Oh, you've never heard of Elysium. Great. Please allow me to take a moment of your time to introduce you to, yeah. The savior of the suffering and the light in the long night.
Savior of suffering.
Aether, the father, and his Elysium.
The savior
Yes. Elysium is a paradise, free from disease and hunger. A promised land of happiness and laughter for all of us. And the Father is its creator.
I see.
Oh, you really know nothing about the world. Well, since you're the first one to ever listen to my sermon, I'll tell you more about Elysium.
Yes, tell me your secrets.
Before that, please tell me your name.
Name? I don't have one.
What? You don't have a name? Come on, everyone has a name, right? You really
Stares
don't
at her.
have a name? So this is my first missionary target. Is this a
I think
test
that my
from the Father?
mouth is like stuck
Well,
agape.
since you don't have a name,
Flabbergasted.
I'll give you one.
Why
A name.
should I have a name?
Because your name is important. That's how others address you and write about you in books. What's more important? With a name, others will remember you.
I see.
And that's it.
Well, I just came up with a great name. It's Arissa.
Arissa.
Arissa. I see.
Then I'll call you Arissa from now on. Tell you a secret. Arissa is actually the name of my rabbit doll. It's the only doll I got from Grandpa. It used to be my best companion, but not anymore.
Why?
Because I've left it at home. I'm going to Elysium to look for Mom and Dad. And I won't go home.
Elysium. Where is it?
The Elysium is nowhere and everywhere. Or at least that's what they say. We can't find Elysium on our own. Only the chosen ones can get there. So we joined the church and went on a pilgrimage to the center of Heavenswell. The pilgrimage is long and challenging, and entering Heavenswell is just the first step. But they said that a lot of feral monsters appeared on the road ahead, and everyone was too scared to go any further.
I can go there and take a look.
Really? Are you good at fighting? Then I must give you this before you leave. Come to me. May the Father bless you.
Blessing. Seal of Pilgrim. You're in the pilgrim's lane by the clerics of the church. Another seal. But how do I use these seals? I can't equip them. Take 15% less damage from poison, piercing, and infection. All defense increase inflicted by any status ailment. Contains up to 5 normal seals. What does that mean? Arissa. My name is Arissa now. Her name is Arissa now.
Thank you for being willing to help me, Arissa. May the Father bless you. But without the needle to overwrite the seal, how to...
Needle. What are you talking
Thank
about?
you. May the Father bless you.
Maybe that's how I equip seals. This needle she's talking about. Merchant?
Dang, I'm so screwed right now. I've finally completed my apprenticeship, and what do I get? Stuck in this godforsaken dump. Those scavengers, nothing but broke. They haggle all afternoon for one single pot and sneak away 2 mud balls along the way. I just can't take this anymore! Hey, what are you looking at?
A madman.
Wait, you don't look like one of those poor wretches. Then come and buy something, but no bargaining, alright?
How should I buy something?
Huh? Don't don't you have any common sense? Haven't you bought anything before? Come on, man. What the heck is this place?
Come on, man.
Well, you do have some crystals. Allow me, generous Frank, to show you how it's done.
Frank.
The
Frank.
crystal nucleus you're wearing, it absorbs crystals, right? Take it off and get it close to someone else's crystal nucleus. Yeah, that's it. Once both parties agree, the crystals get transferred automatically. Now that I've taught you how to buy, just buy something.
Hold on. What does he have? Luminous okay, that's definitely what I want. Mechanical parts. Impact drill? It's a jab haymaker. Like I punch with the drill? Cast iron greatsword. Oh. Here we go. Cemetery key. I'm gonna try that greatsword. The drill's so fun too. Okay, presumably I could just sell this to him. Don't know if I'll have enough to buy what I want, but I might. I think it's gonna be close. This shit. Okay.
Swing by again sometime. Nothing beats making more crystals.
Later greatsword. Cast iron greatsword. Okay, so my blader greatsword has been enhanced twice, but I'm more curious about the. Who says the same? Where's that my? Okay, the single edge is the blader. That's the blader. This is the cast iron. Two. Oh, there's swap attacks. I didn't know that. Okay, what's the earth-shattering strike? Oh, it's cool. That's really cool. This is the brute combo. I never had much use for this. Feels like I would just hit my light attack. Bother with it. Kinetic Surge. Order from the Great Patriarch. Access to the factory is strictly prohibited. All trespassers will face severe consequences.
Must be opened from the other side.
You heard what he said? Is it true? Will Necros attack this camp?
Only God knows. Who dares wander around at a time like this?
Please, bless us, Father.
I need to. Is there something that was missing at this fire? I almost have enough to level, but I want to save that key. No, okay. Let us continue. It's very big.
Show me the pilgrim seal.
You are? That's it. All right. Portable lightning bolt. Oh. Interesting. Oh, what? Snipers. Where? Hit. Okay. That's not good. Jesus. Oh, you shot me. Brick. Damn. Okay. I want to talk to that guy, but it's fucking sniper. Oh, he's got a fucking shotgun. Dick. A long walk to kill him. This guy is really tanky. And there's one behind me. Luckily, it's easy enough to stagger them. Purple ignition. Okay. Bombs. Definitely don't want to use that in here. Drizzle. Almost seal that slightly increase the fires. I want to know how to equip seals. Or are they just permanently active? My assumption is they're permanently active because I cannot figure out a way to equip them. And this says it contains seals. Make yourself wet just in case. Like I can put the seal inside. Well, the little girl did mention that she was like a pen or something that, oh no, overrides the seals. That's used to get up on me. These enemies are all very easy. This part of the course, these kinds of games, later on, will start throwing the bullshit at me. Oh, like that. Shit, I thought I could cheese that by jumping. Guess not, though. I'm about to get snuck up on, aren't I? Exactly. Pyro. This is Sniper. There he is. I'm sick of this guy. How do I get up there though? Fuck. Okay, it's gonna be a bit. Saw it coming. Wait, door. Oh no. Gun. Jesus. Okay. Okay. He's nice and quick. Oh, that was very close. Come on, what kind of sniper rifle has a range of only 50 meters? That punk from the Grey Rhino caravan definitely pulled a fast one on us. Trying to fight those necros with this piece of crap just asking to get yourself killed. 50 meters. That's a piece of shit, sniper. Wish I could open these. Oh? Who's this?
I shouldn't have stayed. If I had known, not even Sienna.
That's her face.
Those
I thought she was wearing a mask.
They are busted.
Sienna.
Run away.
He is very tall. Shortcut? Stone, okay. Shortcut, okay, cool. I want to see what's... Okay. What's over here? Not being sniped at anymore. Oh, there it is. Who's this guy? Oh, he's the bad guy. Okay. Oh, shit. I'm gonna fucking die. Frick. Okay, he does that twice. Died all the same. More pilgrims. You just sit here and pray. What a hellscape. Luminous carbon. Okay, let's go back to the shortcut. I may have enough to upgrade. No, I don't think I do, actually. It wouldn't matter either way, because I don't want the enemies to respawn. Is there... Oh, fuck. Is there another direction? That's right, the sewer. Okay, but... Is there another direction here? Is, presumably that leads to where the sniper is. However, I'm curious about this hatch. Oh no. Did a lot. Carbon. Very good. Now we continue. What time is it? Okay. A little bit of time. Sniper areas. Don't look at me. Oh, not the windows. Walls. Okay. See you. Oh, that is a long range. He's got guns. Those are gun swords. He's okay. Baited you at that time. Okay, I want this. I want to kick this down. The shortcut. Right, nice. Sniper, you're pissing me off. Now you die. Damn. Oh, and he dropped carbon. Nice. Is there fall damage? Yes, there is. Okay. Good to know. There's an item up there. I bet you it's just mud, though. Mud balls. I didn't see a way inside this building. Because there is a Item down there. Didn't see a way in, so we'll just continue. Ah, a cleaner bot. You gotta be fucking. And it's a grenadier. Okay. Sneak up. Fucking frick. There we go. At least there's no clipping on the axe. Portable electrification. I'm assuming those robots are weak to electric. Actually. So this is like a mana potion. So I want... Throw my ignition. I meant to use the electro, but that's fine. Oh my god. Oh no 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 no. Oh god. Fuck. Oh, you dick. He is burning my ass. Shit. Okay, humans are weak to fire. That probably sounds very obvious, but I mean, for oh, forgot they do that flame jet. Ooh. Oh, I need spirit. Christ, flamethrower. Interesting. That could be fun. I like my railgun though. As I was saying, I meant for mechanics' sakes. Humans probably have a weakness to fire, and the robots a weakness to lightning. All that makes you wonder what's the void weak to? Seriously, that old man carrying a coffin is a total nut job. Last time someone dared to rob the pilgrims, the church wiped out his whole damn family. He even killed those priests. I can't even imagine the kind of retaliation he'd face. I better run before anyone comes after me. Jeez, this church is impressive. I can't imagine why they would depict the church like that, though. That's kind of poor taste, sorry. Let's see. Salt brick. Oh, I can sell it. Cool. Is that... Is that how I get into the building? Wait, what's over here first? Another drop down. Okay, let's try it. Probably going to fuck this up somehow, but sometimes in these games you can kind of... There we go. A secret. A secret. Maybe not. Maybe? No. Yes. No? I came this way. Fuck, okay. I was hoping there was an entrance to this building because I see that item back there. I want in. Let's just see, there's something running around in there. How do... I guess it's not this way. Okay. What about here? Oh, there's even a fucking staircase there. Man, I am just blind. Picking up on this stuff. Alright then. And down this alleyway. On this alleyway. That's a dead end. Should run back to rest, but I really don't want to spawn everything. What's the item? I want to get in here. I see an entrance out from the balcony, but no way to the actual balcony. That I can see anyway. Ah, it's not the was fucking following me? Okay, he must have came out of the building. The same building I want to go in. Yeah. I think I got that shortcut. Okay. It's almost like I should fall onto that rooftop down there. At least that's what I would presume, but that's clearly not the case, so shit, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm going this way. I'll figure it out another time. Okay, that was another drop down area. Presumably this is a shortcut, maybe? Kill this gunner. Oh, you thought. You thought.
Must be opened from the other side.
Okay. Would be. Is it this way? Or did I go too far? I went too far. It's up here. Down this way. This area is kind of wide open. There we go. Elevator. Where does it go? It goes down. Oh, it goes way down. Not having a stamina bar is really good. Really cool. Crystallizer mains. Here we go. More money. Nothing there. So what's further in this? Snipers. It's goddamn. Oh, he got blown the fuck up. Oh, it's a war. What the fuck is that thing? Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay. Jeez. Okay. We're on fire now. Give me bitch. I flubbed that really hard. Oh, that really hurts a lot. I would like to not use that. I want to eat mud. Here we go. Jeez. Give me your carbon. Nice. What the fuck is that thing? Goodness, okay. And they're kind of close there. At least they're dead. A chest, a proper chest. Yes. What is your treasure? Pickaxe. A pickaxe. Oh, I thought that was a site in the art book. Oh, it's one hand. Interesting. Windmill swings. Very nice. Fortunately, I prefer my other weapons, my great swords. So this must be a divergent spot. Maybe not. That monster. That goes... go inside? It does, okay. Let's see what's in the cave first. We'll check out the pipe. I'm whiffing my attacks. Oh, dick. Devitalized fetus. Remove piercing acute. Devitalized fetus? Fuck. The seed that has not yet grown into a necro. Grown into a necro. What the fuck? Whatever happened to this world? In Mudball's lore, you bring up a good point. The whole entire civilization is dependent on good earth, soil, mud. Mud. Crystal cave. Okay, what's up? This botanist. Obsessed with plants, and he himself starts eating the dirt. Eating on it, like a plant. Mudball. Ah. Put his hands up. I should have shot him. Ah, okay, this is the other part of the cage. Oh, we gotta... Oh, they're all bad at something. Rusty pipe. So who built these cleaners? Oh, those aren't cleaners, those are people. This is gonna suck. Okay. This is bad, I thought. These cleaners. Set them on the necros. Where did the necros come from? They grow from seeds, like a plant. So does the branch. And this is the... Okay, this is what I was trying to get into before. Miss Carton, what's in here? Scavenger clothing. Oh, nice. This reminds me of a lot of Code Vein. It is a cool look. This looks better though. Follow him. Okay. I want the item. Yes, this thing. Mini bombs. Alright, now I can go back and check out that crystal cave. And I do realize that this is not the efficient way to explore, but I do like to be thorough. Especially since I'm playing completely blind. I have no idea where any of this leads to. This crystal, all this crystal. And what is that? Whatever it is, it's trouble. Let's try the lightning this time. Moth? Or is that poison? That is poison. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, what am I doing? I have a gun. Just shoot him. It's diamonds. That must be the next tier. Pilgrim did not make it. Sacred blood crystal. Okay, so it's an elixir. Hear something growl? No, okay. Thought something hissed at me. Okay, so I want to go back. Take that elevator back up to the top. And continue where I left off. I could run up the other way, but I think this is faster. Nice. Oh, that's right. They do that shit. Gotcha. Son of relighting. Oh, okay. Come on, get off. Oh, get off. Sorry. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, he eats mud too. That's good. I'll eat some mud. Portable lightning bolts. Okay. This part of the game feels a little slow. Seal needle. Rewinding your seals of the branch. You have obtained a golden seal needle. There are two types of seals, main seals and normal seals. Your main seal determines your sync rate energy levels. Provide crucial attributes and effects in battles. You may enhance your main seal at any branch. Normal seals can provide various basic attribute bonuses. Your main seal determines the number of normal seals that can be equipped. Okay, so if I understood that correctly, I can now equip my seal and put the other seals inside of it. Wait, where the fuck am I supposed to go then? Okay. Ladder. We are. I'd like a branch soon. Oh, speaking of. Getting closer to that broken bridge. Rewrite seal. Okay, so Seal of the Newborn. Okay, there's no reason to use the newborn seal. I'm not sure what enhancing it would do, but this is awesome. More stability. Purple. Reminds you of sharpness from Monster Odor. This damage of poison, piercing infection. Big boost to defense, whatever. Oh, and a huge stability buff too. Okay, cool. Nice, nice, nice. I can put these inside. So, Steel 1. Steel 2. Okay, cool. Very cool. Tiny resonance. Ah, okay, so enhancing it buffs the passives that it gives. Very nice. B scaling strength. Okay, what is this at? C scaling. Okay, this has got way better scaling. I'm going hard into strength, which I am. Yeah, other weapons too. What are these? What's the pipe? Home run swing. Okay. Damn. Is there another weapon I got? No, technique weapons, okay. So I want to invest in this cast iron greatsword. It's strength scaling is gonna go up high like that. We have to B scaling. Cast iron. Yes. Cast iron. Yes. Okay, so it's just more carbon that I'm missing. And I can level up some. I should go buy that key from the merchant before I forget. Get a size one of. I can break 600 HP. Okay. And definitely want more strength. What does vitality do to conversion? All around defense. Yeah, but strength. But strength. Nice. They're both level 2. The Blader comes out just barely ahead with 10 more damage. Level 2, despite the higher scaling with strength. I literally only get 3 more damage from my strength. Maybe higher levels will give me what I want. Do I have sellables? I do. So I'm gonna go buy that key. Campsite.
Oh, it's you again.
Salt brick. Okay, I think that's enough. Cemetery keys. I want those. He sells carbon too. So I might be able to get a piece off him.
Swing by again.
Nice. Can I enhance the sword again? $252, 196, and 55. I'm just curious. This is. I'm hoping the strength scales a little harder. Maybe I just don't have the stats. I'm more interested in its skills. Well, the Earth-Shattering Strike sounds like it'd be really good. I'll try it. And it houses. Okay, what does this key open? Key to the cemetery. We're in slums outside the walls. I was waiting for something to jump out at me. Oh my goodness. Whoa. It's close. I'm too fast. Mechanical parts and dead end. Get to the next branch, or maybe a boss fight, and then call it. Bitch, spoke so soon. I remember him from the. Oh, that hurt. That did a lot of damage. Hidden Imperium. Oh, damn. Got a shotgun too. Oh, that hurt. That hurt a lot. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Nice combo. Oh, that's not nice though. You just gonna shoot me, you motherfucker? Not delayed attacks. Not too bad though. Gotcha. Okay, that's really easy to parry. Gotcha. Simple enough. Turbid nucleus. Oh, you fucking dick. You shot me. Fuck. Wait, turbid, here we are. High retention rate, less absorption rate. Due to a large number of impurities caused by consuming garbage. Properties differ from those of ordinary nuclei. Okay. I think I replaced my nucleus yet because I want to see what these boss weapons are. Oh, he didn't fucking shoot me. He just fucking... APCs shot me. This Earth Slam is fucking awesome, though. Wasn't sold on the other one. Brute Onslaught or whatever it's called. And he was alright, but I like my weapon arts to have some oomph. Some oomph to them. He's dead. Oh, that's one of those demons. Or Necros. It's off a tree.
They went to the cemetery. None of them came back. Sienna, you're the only one who can handle them. Please, help us.
Sienna.
I think she can hear us anymore.
Protect the yard of the tree. Repel the Necros. Protect the yard of the tree.
The yard of the tree. Hardened skin. Oh, that will come in handy. Stabilizer. This looks... What the fuck is that? I'll be able to backstab it. Yes. Oh, he's got moves. He's dead. And he dropped carbon. Nice.
Let's gobble it all up. This is the last pod. Don't leave anything. Let's go.
They're eating the mud. Okay. So, there's good mud, which is what we know as mud. And there's bad mud, which is what makes everybody turn into Necros. And because there's no good mud, there's no plants. No plants, there's no food. So they start eating the bad mud because there's nothing to eat. And because they're eating the bad mud, they turn into Necros. Where did this bad mud come from? Magnetic search. Iron pot. Oh. No. Scavengers wear their iron pot, which they steam mud balls and often lick it to ease hunger. Perfect. Hello, brother.
Why can't I get mud balls? I shouldn't have removed that part, right?
That's funny. That is a... Oh, that's a shortcut. Truly. I mean, a worldly knight. So hoping that it would plank off the fucking ladder when you slide down. Oh man. Okay, I want to upgrade. More strength, more strength. Strength. All strength. Okay, so. Oh, shit. I forgot to put stuff in the seal. Just gonna pull down. Okay, I can rewrite this seal. Hardened skin, physical defense 50. Oh, that is. Seems like a lot. Damn. Okay, cool. Nice. I don't know how armor ratings work. Defense ratings work in this game. Don't they mean much to bosses? They do. Like I was saying earlier, typically, especially during endgame, the bosses just hit so fucking hard. It doesn't really matter what equipment you wear. Not too much. You might survive maybe one extra hit, which is significant, but at the same time, it's not very significant. Disordered fetus. Okay. Action. What is that? Oh, oh. Spikies. Okay, that's where the key is used. What's up here? Oh goodness. Relax, relax. I'm chunking him. Oh my god. Easy enough. Very easy. It's a big boy. I don't know if I can sneak up on him. Might be able to. Hopefully the spikies don't alert. Gotcha. Yeah, he's got moves. I forgot about that. Stagger. Nice. He's dead. Tree core. These tombstones are massive. Maybe I should go back to that cemetery gate. It looks like I'm just getting closer to the wall. Ah. Okay. Let's get some buffs going. Alright. Lasers. Laser bugs. Okay. Oh, he went up, motherfucker. Okay, there we go. Damn. Disordered fetus. More fetuses. Feti? Fetuses. This carbon. Okay. So it was just for items. Blocks. Okay. Very small. Oh. Oh, they scream loud though. That one is not small. Oh goodness. Back off. Yeah, get it back off. Back off. Okay. Oh. Okay, that's the end of that. All these pustules. This one bug. Cool. Assorted fetus. I need resonance. Okay, I need that to upgrade the seals. Seals. Oh, what the fuck? Goodness. Okay. Alright. Wanna play that game? Let's play this game. Jeez. My mud. Oh, I guess it was a waste of mud. To the branch. Okay, I can upgrade the seal. Is that what I read? Yes, okay. Nice. More stability. I want to enhance my sword. Oh, I'm getting into diamond territory. Okay. Okay, buddy. It's not really. More diamonds. So I'm just gonna upgrade my stats. More strength. 25 strength. Straight up. This smells like a boss fight. Oh, this is the church from the art. Oh, that looks ominous. Good thing I have my bucket. Give me 1 second. I need to screenshot this fucking bucket. Really a knight. Virtuous knight. Okay, great sword set. Officer set. All right. It's a very big Necros. Come on then. Necro the Panic Reaper. Panic Reaper. What the fuck? Oh, that's a scream. Okay. Eat this. Oh, that does no damage. No! Nice. I should try to parry him a bit. What the fuck? Oh, goodness. Okay. Gotcha. That chunks. That does a lot of damage. Fuck that up though. Oh, I fucked that too. Oh. Heal up. Oh shit, that was really fast. That hurt a lot. Okay. It's not something I want to get hit by. A little more ignition. Let's give it to her. So let's do it. Come on. Gotcha. Yeah. This boss, I feel like you could just parry it to death if you're careful. Like that. Yeah, this is okay. He's not, he just looks scary. He's not actually scary. Come on. Oh, I say it's like take every hit. Oh, I can't parry that though. Oh, that hurt. God damn. Oh. Gotcha. Piercing Claw. Piercing Claw is one of the basic abilities. Spell frame on your left arm. Activating is equivalent to casting a Necro spell on yourself, dealing piercing damage to yourself. Why would I do that? In return, you will gain the power of Necros for a period of time. Oh. Interesting. Piercing Claw automatically launches energy claw strike to reach basic attack. That sounds like it would be really good. A weapon with a fast attack speed. Oh yeah. Piercing damage sucks though, man. Fuck. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is that? Smith? After in a second, I wanna. I have another. No, I didn't have another seal. Okay. No diamonds either. I have lots of these. 1, 2, 6. Okay, the scaling's starting to kick in. I'm now actively getting more damage on my descaling weapon over my C scaling. I suppose if I had high piercing, I wouldn't have to worry too much about that. Yeah, okay, that's technique, so that okay. I understand now. Yeah, if the technique is fast dex weapons, then that spell, or whatever it's called, goes hand in hand with the faster attacking weapons. What is he doing?
Like a pilgrim.
What do you mean?
What are you doing here?
Well, just taking off some
Bucket.
useful parts. Nothing special. As for you, your getup is rare these days. A hunter? Or part of a caravan?
What's wrong with my fit?
You
My
don't
getup.
seem like either. Oh, now I remember. You're not a human. You're a blader, right? I've met a few guys like you before. Never mind. I'm not interested anyway.
Did you kill these?
Oh, yes, he's the guy carrying the coffin mentioned before.
No, they're just vessels. They didn't even put up a fight.
Why?
Well, ever heard of Stone, the coffin bearer? Like you bladers in pursuit of branches, eliminating these hollow vessels is my duty, or rather my
Fascination.
Well, sooner or later, you'll become one of
You sell in the shop.
But don't worry. When the time comes, I'll eliminate you too.
All due respect, that's not in the cards.
By the way, if you're heading to Havenswell, maybe you'd like to take on a commission.
What is a commission?
It's simple. You do something for me, and you get paid.
I see. What do you need me to do?
Well, tell me your name first.
Arissa.
Arissa.
Yeah, Arissa.
Good. Now, take this.
Arissa,
It's
the
a
Bucket Knight.
signaling
Or
device.
Bell.
If you run into pilgrims gathering around and doing weird rituals, use it to call me.
Pilgrims gathering.
Doesn't sound too bad, right? An easy way to make some crystals without any hassle.
What do you want with those pilgrims?
Better not ask more questions than necessary if you want to stay in this line of work. Just do your job. Just...
Alrighty then. What the fuck? What's in his... Oh, I clip into it. What a strange man. I'm going to wear this. Much more. It's like 10 more physical. Like some more equipments. He wants me to use this bell. Alright then. I'm not gonna equip it on my hotbar. A necro save with a disordered mental stat. This fetus is mentally ill. Okay. What? My elixir. I'm gonna hold that for an emergency. This corridor is very Code Vein-like. Which is oddly specific to say. There was one gripe with Code Vein that I had was that it there's a lot of the camera. There's a lot of walking. Very dull corridors. Okay, I'm on the bridge. The wall, sorry. I'm on the wall now. What the fuck is that? I don't have to kill it. Okay, that's good. Is this city sunk? That is a big tower. What the? What's that? Is that all mud? The mud is eating the city. Use portal. More mud. This looks like Death Stranding. Kojima. Did you have something to do with this game? Oh, sure as shit. Mud Lake in the sunken city. Subsistence of the Stratus at the part of... Ah, I couldn't read it. Stop read. So now I'm reminded of carbon. Oh, that's a lot of carbon. Dark Souls 3, when you leave the wall, electric wall, you can teleport to the keep, the town. Oh, you teleport. It's more like you're carried off by a gangly demon, but what's this? Samurai. Oh. Yeah, right. Sorry. But my honor is a bucket knight. Oh! Spoke too soon. Why are you laying like that? What the fuck, man? It's like bodies hanging from the ceiling. These street samurai are cool. Very Code Vein-like. With the gas masks, the respirators. It's over here. A dead one. 2 dead ones. Envenomed needle. Okay, so the poison world. Got it. Oh, shit. Okay. Luckily, I've got good resistance. And with that seal, If they manage to proc poison, get a big boost to my defense. Let's just take the elevator. I'm curious where that other direction goes, but I can just go back. Stupid fucking Alpha. That would actually look kind of cool with the laserness. But Ponytail's cool too. Unfortunately, the pot is the aesthetics winner. I thought there was a hole there, and I was about to fall to my death yet again. Stabilizers. Nice, nice. What's that?
Another guy seeking death, huh? On a hunt? Or perhaps a pilgrimage?
Pilgrimage.
I'm searching for something.
Then you sure know how to pick the perfect timing. The Necros have invaded, and down there is a full-blown battlefield now. But where there's war, there are prophets. It's best if both sides suffer heavy losses. And then we'll swoop in and finish them off, not leaving a single one alive.
There's something wrong with him.
Just head to the city if you want to get
Call it a
yourself
hunch.
killed. Just head.
I can't wait to find him later on. A merchant.
Welcome, traveler from afar. I'm Kyan, a merchant from
Kyan.
the Moose Caravan. I'm here to
Moose
do
Caravan.
business in Heavenswell. Please take a look, dear customer.
Salted mud ball. Interesting. And fetuses. Do I?
Are you from outside the wall, dear customer?
Yes.
The Necros are invading and clashing with the church. You look armed to the teeth. Are you heading to the battlefield?
I'm heading to the city.
Entering the city at this time isn't the wisest choice, I have to say. Necros are coming in full force. I heard the church is losing grounds and struggling to defend the Ethereum mansion. But my words don't daunt you in the slightest way.
Ethereum
You
mansion.
must be determined. I wonder if my apprentice is still alive.
Your apprentice?
Yeah, a young man named Otto. Moose Caravan wants to expand business in Heavenswell, so I brought him here to assess the situation. He ventured into the city alone to search for safe routes. Unfortunately, just as he left, the Necros arrived. I haven't heard from him since, and I fear for his well-being.
I'll keep an eye out for him.
Thank you so much, dear customer.
Auto.
May your journey be smooth.
Okay, so I need to keep an eye out for this auto.
What do you need, dear customer?
How much money do I have? Medical parts with 500 each, so 1500 more.
May your
Can I level? What? No. Being dragged away from a door. Oh. The fuck am I? What? Is that in my prime? More visions. Okay. One more looks like. Yeah. Needs more strength. Don't have the diamonds for this great sword. Okay, so 96, 75, 208, and 70. This Blader Greatsword is much higher base damage. I don't know what the max enhance level is though. Which is fine, it just means I will get to experiment some. Okay, this is probably a good place to stop. I am getting pretty tired. I have another day ahead of me tomorrow. Like everyone else. Ah, interesting. Well, it marks NPCs too, or little drawings. Delpha, Frank, Cayenne. Portal. Okay. That looks like a giant portal below us. It's the decrepit city being eaten by the mud.
Just head to the city if you want to get yourself killed.
We'll see about that, buddy. Alright. Not a bad game. It's not a bad game at all. I like it quite a bit. I'm very happy with my purchase. Even buying the deluxe edition. So, although the armor was quickly outclassed, it still looks cool. And like I said before, I can always switch back to it. Generally in game, the bosses, the armor. In-game armor usually might give you 1, maybe 2 extra hits from an endgame boss. It's usually in these types of games anyway, but we'll see how it plays out. Game hasn't been super hard so far. For me, anyway. But I do play these kinds of games a lot, so. All of its predecessors. Reminds me a lot of Bloodborne. Like in Bloodborne and Code Vein. Combined to make a new game. But it's good. A lot better than Code Vein. That's for sure. This made me curious about Kazan though. So maybe I'll pick that up sometime soon. But yes, tomorrow I'll be streaming again. Might play AI Limits, but for sure I'm going to be streaming some more East Origin as well. Maybe I'll do half and half. A little bit of AI Limit and then a little bit of East Origin. But for now, be it. And to DS Scorpio, I'm so sorry I missed your message. My Twitch chat appears to have been frozen. I'll make sure that's fixed and that doesn't happen again. So, thank you to anyone watching this. If you tuned in, thank you for watching. Thanks a lot. And for anyone just watching the VODs, which I will have on YouTube, thank you for watching as well. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing some AI limits. So, for now though, wherever you may be, have a good day, a good evening, and a good night. Take care, wanderers. Take care indeed. And bring your buckets for next time. Bring your buckets.